To kick things off in season number 3, as always, we are going to look at the transfers first. We're going to show you all of the players that have left the club, followed by all of the players that have arrived. So to start us off, we have the players that have left, kicking things off with Sergio Hakimi. He is a player at the age of 28. He wasn't getting any younger. We'd already signed Gasiorowski to replace him on the left-hand side. A bid of £6 million would come in for him. We would take the money to move him on to Alaves. The only other player to leave the club in season number 3 was Chumi. You might have remembered that the fans actually were turning against him a little bit, and then we signed Alejandro Francis, who could play in that position anyway. In fact, he could cover both the centre-back and the right-back positions, just like Chumi. So we decided, again, £6 million was the magic number, and we took that to move him on to Elche. That meant that we added the two £6 million, so we were up to about £23.5 million in the transfer kitty, and with Europa League football coming this season, we needed to up that quality just a little bit more as we move from the Europa Conference League to the Europa League, and also if we wanted to sustain that push to keep us moving higher and higher in La Liga. So the first player that we would go and sign was Ilyas Akamatch. We managed to get him on a deal that was worth around £17 million, so we paid £12 million up front and £5 million in add-ons further down the line, and I think he's a player that will instantly improve our team both in the wide areas, and he can play through the middle too if we need him. But looking at him, he's a fantastic footballer with pace, acceleration, agility, dribbling, long shots, technique. He has it all, and he's really one that we're going to try and build around now going forwards. The next player to arrive was Alex Garrido. Didn't actually have to pay any money for him. He was a free transfer, and another player that comes to us via Barcelona. He's going to be able to sit in the middle of the park, and although he doesn't look as polished as the other players that have come in and are in the first team, he's certainly one that can contribute when we need him to rotate in. The next player to come in was Danny Martin. We signed him from Rayo Majadahonda. He's a goalkeeper who is looking at becoming our first choice goalkeeper straight from the off. Paid £4 million for him. I think it's going to be an absolute bargain. Just 20 years old, and I think he's one of those players that kind of flies under the radar because he didn't play for a fancy team, but he's going to do really, really well, I think, as he develops into this team. And the final player to come in for season 3 was John Martin. He is a defender, so another one who can replace Chumi. Another player that we didn't really have to spend over the odds for. I think he cost around £8 million. At the age of 20, he has everything that you need to be a centre-back. Good acceleration, he has good natural fitness, good jumping reach, heading, marking and tackling. Could do with improving the technical somewhat, and there are some mentals that probably need tuning, but I think being in and around some of the other players in our team, he can certainly start to improve pretty quickly. So those are all the players that we had brought in to try and improve the team. As I said, Europa League football this season, trying to sustain that push in La Liga. Let's find out, did we spend the money wisely? How do we get on in season 3? The answer to that question, once again, is yes, we did spend wisely, and yes, we did make progress once again. This time we would finish second in the Liga for our highest league position yet, and once again we would improve our points total too, going up to 84 points. The only problem for us was Real Madrid were 20 points better than we were. We did finish 5 points ahead of Barcelona, which is a small achievement, and once again we have improved our European status, going from the Conference League to the Europa League, and next season we will play in the Champions League for the first time. Speaking of the Europa League, we will get through to the round of 16 and get knocked out there by Fenerbahce. If we go through and have a look at how we have got on, then in the league phase we would play in 8 games. We would win 5 of those, we would draw 1, we would lose twice, have a goal difference of 18 and finish on 16 points, which saw us agonisingly just miss out on the automatic qualification by 1 point. If we go into the knockout playoff round, we would come up against Genk, where we would win 5-2 on aggregate. In the round of 16, we would come up against Fenerbahce and unfortunately had a 3-3 draw in the first game, and then would lose 3-0 in the return game to go out 6-3 on aggregate. In the Copa del Rey, we finally got past the 4th round. We would do so much better than the 4th round. We would go on and win, as you can see there, beating Barcelona in the final. But first to get there, we had to beat Girona in extra time, 1-0 in the 5th round. In the quarterfinals, we came up against Elche, who would win on penalties after a 1-1 draw. In the semi-finals, we would beat Leganes 5-2 on aggregate, and then, as you saw, we would beat Barcelona 4-1 in the final, with the goals coming from Villar, Akamatch and Marieth Carena. A fantastic game where both teams were pretty ordinary, 8 shots apiece, 4 on target for us and 4 goals. They had 3 on target and only scored 1. So the board wanted us to be competitive in the Copa del Rey. We did even better. We went and won it. If we have a look at La Liga then to see how we finished in second place, we played 38 games as usual. We would win 27 this season. We would draw just 3 times. We would lose 8 times though, including to Barcelona twice and Real Madrid twice. We had a goal difference of just 27, which is crazy considering it's one of the lowest in the top 6, but we managed to get second place and we finished on 84 points. As I said earlier, 5 points ahead of Barcelona and 20 points behind Real Madrid. That is an absolute massive gap to try and bridge. If we look at the squad, we can see in terms of games and goals, Iker Villar has now made himself the #1 striker at the club. He played in 51 games and scored 35 goals with 7 assists. Ramazani scored 19 goals and had 6 assists. Akamatch, 14 goals and 10 assists. Edgar chipping in with 10 goals and 6 assists. Further on down, you'd have Sotelo once again providing 12 assists from the middle of the park. So a fantastic season 3 sees us finishing second place in La Liga, qualify for the Champions League, and we have our first trophy on the board. The first silverware that we win with Almeria would be the Copa del Rey. As we move on towards season number 4, let's check in and look at what the finances are like. So the overall balance at the club is £26.7 million, which is quite strange because the club is just hovering around that £26 million mark, which is quite impressive that they managed to just keep that money in the bank. The only thing is that is translated into the transfer budget, where next season we will only have £4 million. So we're going to have to look to sell a few players if we want to have a bumper budget. Although at this point now we are building a squad that should start to become stronger, so we might only need 1 or 2 pieces to add on and not wholesale changes. In the wage budget we have 634,000 and we are spending 606,000. In the club vision tab, if we look at that, our job is very secure. We now get an A- from the board. For the actionable objectives, work within the wage budget, on course. Be competitive in the Champions League for next season is going to be difficult, but we can do it. And through the league, they want us to qualify for the Conference League. In terms of the board feedback, the A- is because they're delighted with our leadership qualities. They want us to make the most of set pieces, play entertaining football and play high tempo pressing football. They're pleased with the 4-1 triumph against Barcelona. Pleased with the highly impressive 3-0 victory against Seville, and pleased with the 2-1 victory against Girona. However, they are disappointed that we lost 6-0 to Real Madrid, which when they won the league by 20 points, it's I don't think it's that disappointing, but I get where they're coming from. In terms of the supporters, an A- there too. Play attacking football, entertaining football, high tempo pressing football, make the most of set pieces. And then in the highlights, they are pleased with the 2-1 victory against Girona, pleased with the 4-1 victory against Barcelona, and they are pleased with the 3-0 dismantling of Seville. They are disappointed with Gassiorowski's recent performances, the 6-0 defeat against Real Madrid, and they're disappointed with Alejandro Francis's poor performances. So, all in all, an A- from the board. The job is very secure. We are doing a very good job as we are heading towards season 4. Finally then, we are going to look at the squad, and as always I'm going to do that in 2 ways. The first way, as you can see on the screen, I'm going to run you through what I think my best 11 is going into season 4, and then we will look at the assistant manager's report to see how he feels we should line up. We'll look at the gaps in between what we think, and maybe those are some transfer targets that we can go and look at. So to kick me off, I would go with Martin in goal. We'd go with Gassiorowski, Keiki, Martin and Grand. Now that back 4 is pretty solid. Edgar could go in there. Also in the midfield we have Casado, Sotelo and Garrido. Edgar could go in there too, but that midfield three I think is solid. Ramazani on the left, we have Akamatch on the right, and then Villar at the top of the pitch. So Villar, impressive form, has made that striker's position his own. Absolutely thrilled with the fact that he's now developing nicely as a footballer. Ramazani and Akamatch are providing that threat from the wings, cutting inside, getting goals and assists. The midfield three, as I said, is solid. Two former Barcelona players and Sotelo are really making those positions their own, although Edgar can go in there when needed. And then the back four, Keiki and Martin, as I said, Edgar could go into there, but I do think that those two are probably going to be the players going forwards. Then Gasirowski and Grand are good going forwards, with Gasirowski and Ramazani linking up on the left. If we go into the squad planner then and have a little look at what the assistant thinks is the best 11, so he goes with Danny Martin, Centelles, Frances, Keiki, Pubil. We've got Sotelo, Edgar and Casado, then Ramazani, Akamatch and Villar. So he thinks the same as me in terms of the attacking positions. Those front three are set in stone, it looks. Then we've got Casado, Edgar and Sotelo. So as I said, there's a rotation option with Edgar or Garrido or even Wesley Dual, who is the purple player there as the leading candidate for the Segundo Volante. In the wing-back position, he goes with Centelles, but Gasirowski was my pick, so that's fine. The back two, so the centre-back partnership, Francis is sound, Keiki, John Martin, and then the other one I would put in there is Edgar, but he's got him as a midfielder. And then we've got Pubil on the right, but Xavi Grand is the backup. I actually prefer Grand or Trilli to Pubil, but it's just personal preference. He's a sound enough player. So looking at the assistant report then, where are we good, where are we bad? So lots of weaknesses. If we go through the weaknesses first this time. So overall depth, not great depth. So that comes up quite a lot in this game. I think we are sound at the depth that we are at. I think it's the fact we are buying younger players that throws this one up more times than not, because it doesn't look like we have good squad depth, but we have a lot of depth because we have a lot of young players. Overall squad standard, that ties in here as well. So we have a lot of players that are 3-star current ability players but 5-star potential ability players. So at the moment it looks like we are a pretty average team, but in a couple of years when those players develop fully, we could have one of the best teams in the league. In terms of bravery, work rate, free kick taking, teamwork, player struggling for form is Gasirowski, stamina, penalties and tackling. So there are all things that we can look at, but it's difficult when you're buying younger players to get polished, finished articles that can live up to what that report really wants. In terms of the strengths, we have good youth prospects. There are a number of them at the club and away from the club. Iker Villa, scoring 19 goals, was 4th in the competition. Lazaro has been in good form, which is a shame really, because I like Lazaro as a player. A couple of games ago I was raving about him when he was still playing in Brazil, and now he has come across to Europe. It's not really worked out for him. I can't find a place for him in my team, I will be honest. It's quite sad really, because he is a good player but not exceptional. Defensive depth is good, midfield depth is good, defence is good, and flair is good. So I'm not sure how we don't have overall depth and overall squad standard when strengths are defensive depth, midfield depth, and it specifically names players that are strengths. But still, we move forwards going in to the next season, and it's something that we can just add on a few more players. Hopefully, as we are getting better, if we get a bit more money going forwards, we could pick up one of the better wonder kids, put them in, and that should overall improve the squad. But what a fantastic season we have just had, finishing 2nd in La Liga, knocked out in the round of 16 against Fenerbahce in the Europa League, and winning the Copa del Rey to put the first trophy on the board. Right then, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it. I cannot thank you all enough for supporting the channel across the past couple of months. It has been so fantastic watching the channel grow. It's all down to people that come along and just interact, whether it be a like, a subscribe, a comment here or there. It really, really does help the channel to grow. Before you go, don't forget there are other things on the channel: hints, tips, tutorials, wonder kids, let's plays, a little bit of something for everybody on the channel. But for this one, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully I'll see you for season 4 of the Almeria save.